8 years back, when my first daughter was about 2.5 years, that was when I introduced her to the TV. She would watch this program for about 15 to 20 minutes. And as a conscious parent, I was not aware whether she would understand what was going on in the TV. So I used to sit beside her and explain her everything what was happening on the TV. Back then, I didn't know about the screen exposure, what is the right age. Just like me, you must be wondering what is the right age to introduce your kids to the screens. Welcome to Beyond Words with Indu. In this episode, we will be talking about when is the right age to introduce screen to the child. And is screen time always bad? Let's talk about it. There are many parents who think that if they introduce screen to the child at the early age, even before the preschool, the child would learn a lot of vocabulary and especially the English language well. But is it true? Does screen exposure help in language development? Let's see whether it's a myth or a fact. Let's see what are the experts' suggestions. According to the World Health Organization and AAP, that is the American Academy of Pediatrics, kids who are between 0 to 18 months should not have any screen exposure. And kids between 18 to 24 months can have some screen exposure, that is only when needed, and this is mainly for the connection and not for the educational purpose. And here, make sure that there is always a co-viewing. That means there should be somebody sitting next to the child and it must be as short as possible. Then, kids between 2 to 5 years of age can have about 1 hour of screen exposure, and it should only be a co-viewing where there is somebody who is always sitting with the child. It should have a high educational content and do not go with something which is fast paced. It should be a slow video. Then kids who are above 6 years of age, they can have the screen exposure, but this is the right age that you have to set the clear screen time limits. For example, during meal time there should not be any screens, or just before the bedtime there should not be any screens, and introduce them to a lot of real world play. Hence, introducing the screen at the early age thinking that the child will develop the language development is a myth. Here, let's acknowledge one thing. Screen is not always bad. There are definitely a lot of benefits from screen. Let's see them one by one. The first one is the educational content. There are numerous educational apps that we can use for our kids for learning purpose. Then the visual learning. For example, there could be something like a volcano eruption or the plant growth, which cannot be just explained through words. In that case, for a visual learning purpose, we can have a screen. Then the communication. As we all know, with a screen, we can have video chatting and lot of communication happening. Then for creativity, there are many creative apps for drawing, to learn the music and so many other things. Now let's talk about passive versus active screen time. Passive screen time means the screen is just acting as one way where it keeps giving the information and the receiver or the child is just viewing the screen without much benefit. For example, watching a video without any conversation, or it could be even the TV which is on the background. We might think that it is just on and the child might not even watch or look, but there are lots of information that the child is missing out just because of the TV which is on in the background. Now let's talk about active screen time. Active screen time, which means it is two-way, where the child engages, learns, talks, etc. For example, a co-viewing with the caretaker or the parent, or it could be the video calls, or it could be even teletherapies. Now I'll tell you what is teletherapy. Teletherapy means the therapy sessions or the intervention which happens through online mode. For example, a speech therapy session, occupational therapy sessions, or some counseling sessions, etc. Now, let me tell you one real life example. Few years back, there was a child who was about 2.5 years. The parent had contacted us, that is the Enliven Therapy Center, for online therapy, that is the teletherapy. The child had autism spectrum disorders, and when they started the therapy, initially it was a bit difficult to get the cooperation from the child. But over a period of time, the child got used to and he started responding better. He was non-verbal when he was enrolled for the teletherapy. But after a few months, he started speaking. His understanding had improved. He was even making phrases. That is the magic of teletherapy. We can even go for teletherapy for articulation disorders. For example, the child is not able to say certain sounds clearly, or it could be even for stammering, and even for adult neurological cases, for example, the stroke cases, etc. Here, what matters most is when, why, and how you introduce screen to your child. Do not introduce the screen as a babysitter. Make sure the child has developed the basic real life skills and communication before you introduce the screen to the child. Let's together raise gadget-free, emotionally strong kids. Stay tuned.